Okay, it looks like we've got all that set up.
For some reason, it is flipping my video, and I can't figure out how to fix that.
What do you mean it's flipping your video?
Well, you notice that my shirt's backwards, right?
It looks like we've got all that set up.
For some reason... Actually, I'll modify the virtual camera to flip video too. That should work.
Okay.
I don't know why it does this.
Alright, so are you two ready?
Almost. Well, that's not right.
Are we ready to start the train wreck?
I just want the video to be not flipped.
The video of you?
Yeah. It's like, see the words on my t-shirt?
They're not flipped for me.
Oh, okay. Well, for whatever reason, it's showing me flipped in the thing. That's fine. We're good then.
It's probably giving you a mirror view of yourself, but it's not flipped for anyone else.
Okay, there we go.
And Fiaura's got some sort of furry stuff going on. Oh, it's SpongeBob. Okay.
Yes, it's
not
Anime
like
SpongeBob Day.
Oh, that's loud.
Okay.
I mean,
alright, so I guess we're getting on to this Ask a Writer thing. What?
So I did say my volume fluctuates, that's why I have an active balancer.
Alright, well.
Where are our other cohorts?
I don't know. Rob looks like he's late, and I don't think Super Trampoline is going to show up. I hope you don't mind.
Okay, I'll just ramble harder.
Yeah, that'll work. It'll give us more time for us to talk. Yeah, alright, so this is the Ask a Writer panel. If you were looking to ask writers things, this is the place. If you're looking for magical music, this is not the place. We do not, this is not the place where people are splicing the ponies saying things into techno music. This is not what's going on here. So you're in the wrong room if you're looking for people taking audio clips from the show and splicing them into techno songs.
I was about to say, you said this isn't the place for magical music. Bullshit, I have a full audio production company. We've made 5 songs.
Well, okay then.
3 of which are original.
Alright, this is Ask a Writer. So,
I forgot to ask, what level of profanity am I allowed to use?
We should not be using profanity, but I don't think it matters if we do.
Okay, I will keep the sailor in check and try to tone it down.
This is supposed to be like appropriate for people under 18. This is not an 18 plus panel, but I don't think it matters.
Okay.
So I don't know why the
Here on the side of
slide
caution
got shifted to the right, but so the way this will work is that the 3 of us, and maybe 4 of us if Rob shows up, will introduce ourselves and give a piece of advice for under 4 minutes. Then we will move on to question, answer, and discussion. And you guys in the audience can get to ask us questions or ask us to talk about things in the Clawstein chat room. After that, when we start to wind down the discussion, we'll be moving to the breakout rooms for writing workshops. So you guys are going to bring something to read and, read for less than 4 minutes, and then we'll go around in a round table and everyone will give feedback. And one of the writer people will be in that room with you. So, yeah. That's this. I am Raccoon. I do mostly horror and sci-fi and professional documents a lot, but I'm best known for Displaced into Nothing, and that's a kind of sci-fi-esque weird horror one. It's an isekai subversion. I'm also known for I Thought You Never Asked and The Mare in White. And I am working on my own standalone dark fantasy series. And my piece of advice is to think inside the box. Rob Cakeran isn't here to appreciate that picture. But basically, my advice to new writers is to not try to do a bunch of things from scratch and to work off what your audience already knows as a foundation. When you use things that already exist, writing material is always going to be readily available because you've already got, if you're going off of a known trope like isekai, you can always look up what are other people doing. You can look up, if you go off of mythology, you can look up what you're doing. If you're doing fan fiction, you can look up what's actually in the show. And that makes it easy to explain and access for new readers because they just have to know what you're going from. They don't have to know anything new, and you're not making up a bunch of new words. And that allows you to also focus on what matters. Because if I tell you, when I'm writing it lets you focus on what matters when you're doing your world building, and it helps the reader focus on what's supposed to be different about your setting. So when I'm writing my dark fantasy setting, I try to go off of real world stuff about medieval period, and I try to write about, and I look up mythology when I want inspiration for things. I don't start trying to make things up from scratch. And that way, all I need to do to explain it to you is to say it is a dark medieval fantasy setting with lots of fantasy races. But then I can highlight the fact that there's goblins, orcs, and trolls in this setting, but they're not evil. And the thing that everyone is afraid of is magic, because magic is this dangerous, corrupting force. So therein, I can zero in on the thing that's different by explaining it through the things that aren't different. So if you think of a popular setting, you usually can explain them briefly. I find that the more popular settings, like Harry Potter or Pokemon, are explainable in one or two sentences, as opposed to, say, to contrast with Pokemon, Digimon, which I can't even figure out how to explain the first arc in one sentence. And if you look at My Little Pony, the way it thinks inside the box is by having a medieval fantasy setting and aesthetic that we all know, with magical talking horses. Everybody knows what Unicorn, Pegasus, and Earth Ponies are without ever having to watch the show or be told anything about it, if I just showed you out of the blue. The magic doesn't have a complicated system that it has to explain, and almost everything is either based on something real world or some common mythology thing, like the griffins and the dragons. And the reason I picked this picture for this slide is I like how you can see all of these houses are nice and quaint and they really set the tone, but what really pops out is that tree house that Twilight has. That's something that pops out as being outside of a normal medieval fantasy setting. On to Fiaura.
Hi, I'm Fiaura the Tank Girl. I'm also called the Princess of Explosions. I am known for making Fall Equestria stuff and for the 403 science panels that I've made between ponies, anime, 40K, and cartoon fandoms. The works I'm known for are Fall Equestria, and this fandom specifically, Fall Equestria Dead Tree, which is, hey, get this one, fully published. I actually have the copyright information and everything in the book, and yay. I also wrote a story called Bone Daddy, which is not pornographic as much as it sounds like it is, about a necromancer who, I guess the description is, adopts a foal and has to regain his humanity by adopting a foal. And I wrote The Curse of Silence, which is an exploration of what it was like to be a Cakeran before Applejack and Fluttershy showed up. And my piece of advice is hire an editor. Editors are not proofreaders. Your friends are proofreaders. Editors are people who actually know what they're doing. My suggestions are English teachers, people who grade essays for professors, people who have to grade any form of essay-based test paper, people who have to do admissions for college, people who actually have to sit down and judge someone's ability to read English, or people who teach a second language because they usually are really good at their first language if their first language is English, or people who teach English as a second language because their native language is some other language. They actually turn out to be really good at editing. Editors may require money. It's usually not a lot. Oddly enough, I think I pay props like $35 a chapter is average. I produce like a chapter a month on a bad time and a chapter a week on a good time. You can get editors for free too. There are people willing to do this for free, but long term, you're going to want somebody who's dedicated to work with you, and you two build a rapport with each other, and you keep working together. Props Master and I have been working together for almost 3 years. And we're actually good friends. We play D&D together. We take an extra effort to get to know each other and get on each other's level, even if we don't always have the right kind of chemistry to have an unawkward conversation. And your editor must be willing to chastise you. Your editor has to be willing to look at an entire paragraph and go redline the whole thing, show you a better example of what should be done here. And then on top of that, being invested in the work you're doing is a bonus too. If you can get an editor who's actually invested in the stories that you write later, that would be even better. But the point is, your editor should be willing to tear you down, destroy you, and then build you back up with suggestions of how to fix it. And you should be prepared to receive all of this. Next slide is an example of this. So the portrait on the left is the chapter that I finished last night. Props has been working on it for less than 5 minutes, and he already has 10 things he suggested. The one on the right is the master document for my third book. 902 edits with 12 chapters. That's an average of like 82 edits a chapter. And this is the third pass because we do 3 passes. I do an initial chapter pass, a chapter release on FemFiction pass, and then we have another pass when we're getting ready to print the books. That comes. This is that third pass, and he's still suggesting 902 things that we could change. I'm only going to take about 30 to 40% of his suggestions. But it's the effort to give the suggestion in the first place, because I might reject his suggestion and then still erase a sentence and rewrite the whole sentence. But it's always better to have another pair of eyes. The biggest thing about this, though, that I like to tell everybody, no one knows how to use commas right. I don't care who you are. I don't care how many years you've been teaching college-level English to PhD students. No one knows how to use commas right. Everyone is going to mess them up somehow, some way. There's a comma splice on this on this slide. If you find it, bonus points. But yeah, everyone's going to mess up commas. So that's me. Hi.
I just wanted to note, because you're bringing this up, in my 5 steps to writing, I always point out that the difference between an editor and a proofreader is a proofreader just looks for little mistakes, whereas an editor will actually break down, like on a story level, what you're doing and show you better ways to write things. And on that, I charge, I believe, half a cent per word when I do editing, to 1 cent per word, depending on what it is. So that's an example of people not charging a lot.
I pay per chapter up to a certain page count. Pages for me are always old school, so it's 12-point font, Times New Roman, double space. That's a page for me. And I pay for the first 30 pages on a flat rate, and then I pay an additional $2 for every page I'm over 30. This way, I'm not discouraged to write more by the fact I'll have to pay more money to the editor, because it's not going to be that much more for me to write another page. But at the same time, if I only write a 20-page chapter, Prop still gets paid as though the chapter's 30 pages long, regardless, because that's the base rate that he gets. But that's how I pay my editors. Is also that way I can budget a little easier, because I know this is how much this is going to cost, plus maybe a little extra if I go overboard. That's fair, but it helps me with budgeting long term.
Right. I just like per word because it's an easy metric.
Fair.
So let's move on to Crick question. Crick question.
There we go.
Are you muted? Okay.
Yeah, no, sorry, I was trying to unmute my audio. So I am Trick Question. I lecture at a large university in the States. And unfortunately, I have a number of medical issues that have been piling up, and the most recent one is ME/CFS, which is myalgic encephalomyelitis / chronic fatigue syndrome, which basically means I spend about half the day lying down because my muscles just get very tired for no obvious reason. And so my output has been very slow over the last few months. Hopefully I will be able to start writing again soon. But that's enough about me as far as at least independent of the stuff that I write, which I'm going to talk about a little. I'm best known for a lot of different stories. There's, if I had to name just three, Price of the Smile. The Price of a Smile is my most awarded fic, I suppose. I would put it that way. It won a write-off with a lot of good authors in it. Broken Symmetry is the longest story I've finished. It's a novella-length dark drama with Twilight Sparkle and Moon Dancer. It's got some shipping. And Motherly is a short fic that was my... I can't remember what it's called. My memory's really bad, too. RCL feature, my Royal Cantor Library feature. So most of the stuff that I do, I do have kind of a range. I've got a couple comedies, but most of what I write tends to be dark and focus a lot on drama. And, I like writing stories that are dark but hopeful. Or, one of the more common themes I deal with is where bad things in the story happen, not despite, but because of people's best intentions. And what happens when different, ways of looking at the world collide. A lot of what I do almost everything I do tends to be message-oriented. Can we go to the next slide?
Oh, sorry.
Yep. And so, the advice that I would give, which I think is maybe a little unique, is stories are vehicles for presenting ideas. And, I see people do this with art. I also do, visual art. I see people limit themselves when they do art, either visual art or stories. They don't really see the power of the weapon or the tool that they have and put forward for people. A story is a tool for sharing ideas with other people and for putting those ideas into people's heads. And, I'm not really interested in writing unless I have something that I want to convey to someone. And it's usually more complex than just a feeling. Although feelings themselves can be a strong motivation for writing. Also, I'm a little bit scatterbrained, so if I fade out, that's why. And in addition, I have a cold right now. Not only do I have the normal narcotics I have for pain in me, I also have cold medicine. So this could get really interesting. Hopefully, they'll be able to kill my video if I start ripping my clothes off and throwing them at the monitor or something. But almost everything that I write has almost everything I write has a message intended for the reader. Sometimes multiple messages intended for different audiences. When I'm writing a story, I want to think about the ideas and feelings that someone is stuck with. I want to think about what is this person going to think about when the story's over. What are they going to reflect on? What's going to stick with them, essentially. So before I start writing, I always have the audience in mind, the messages that I have planned for the audiences, and also the ending of the story, because the ending is how I'm going to hit home the message. I mean, I wouldn't say I have a lot of twist endings, but I have a lot of endings where the message gets punched pretty hard there at the end. And if you're writing a story and you don't know why, think about it. Try and think about what is interesting about this that I want to share with another human being, and focus on that. The more you focus on that, the clearer your message and your vision is, the more effective the story will be.
And I believe now Rob Cakeran has joined us, but he's muted.
No, hello. Am I here? Hello.
Yes, you are.
Yay.
You are here.
Yes, Rob.
Aha, there it goes. Let's see if this works. Aha! Hey, there it goes. Hi. Ignore the fact I'm in my bathroom. Hi, how's it going, guys?
Darn, I was hoping
Are
to see the
are you-
overalls today.
Are you on the toilet right now, Rob?
Yes, I'm sitting on the toilet. But don't worry, not using it. Seats down.
Okay.
Is the toilet
This was
Spike?
This was expected.
Okay, so I actually don't have a slide. I don't have anything, so I'm just gonna wing whatever I'm doing. Hi, I'm Rob Cakeran 53, author of, unfortunately or fortunately, depending who you are, My Little Dashie. I've also done a couple other popular ones, as in The Whittler. Yeah, I've got other stories. You can find them, I guess. And I don't know how we're structuring this at all. Raccoon?
What is your advice?
When in doubt, ham it out. So, people like to... I've learned... This is a big lesson I've learned from one of my favorite authors and a good friend of mine, personally, is Admiral Biscuit. There is no such thing as too much detail. You can bore readers with too much exposition, too much writing, fancy stuff like that, but there's no such thing as too much detail. You can blow up the whole world. I mean, Admiral's able to pull off stories that just focus on one obscure thing and make it work. The entire story about a wagon, about how they tow wagons, and I've started to learn that. I experimented with that with a story of mine that's mature, unfortunately, but YCH, which, the art is what your character here. I played around with that with a couple OCs. And I decided with the story was not only was going to focus on relationship, but I'm going to focus on the details of the world and little stuff. And that's what grabbed a lot of people's attention, was noting how, because it's like 1940s, 1950s Americana like. So there's little details that nowadays you wouldn't see or hear of. So there's no wrong. You can add details. And the big thing is doing homework, doing research. If you don't know stuff and you want to include something, as much as Wikipedia can sometimes lie to you, Wikipedia can also be your best friend. Look things up. I spent half of a day looking up how the telephone system used to work originally, before we had, like what we have now with cell phones and such. What?
I actually had to go use ballistics gel to determine if you actually could fire hardened sprinkles and use them as shrapnel. So he's right. Go look stuff up.
Yeah, exactly. There's stuff that, now you don't want to be like story, and then random just explode about a detail. Like if you're writing a story that's open worlded and you just want to just include little things that people wouldn't normally understand or notice or see, and then have a little bit of detail to it. But you can always just keep building on it, build the world around that, and just it makes it feel just more authentic, having those kind of details.
I would interject that there is and can be a danger to going too deep into technical stuff, which I frequently do. Broken Symmetry, for example, has a large amount of quantum physics in it, and I try to explain things to the audience in sort of a way that they can understand it. But most readers, and these are people who enjoy the story, say that they're lost in some of the descriptions. They start to understand and then they kind of fade out. But the rest of it is engrossing enough that it doesn't destroy the story for them. But anytime you do detail, you have to, I guess, be more sparing than I am.
Yeah,
I always say that you need to be careful with the details you throw down, but always know a little bit more than you're going to say about something.
Right. which is totally not what I mean, for instance, I'm sitting here talking to you guys on the toilet. So it's like, I don't always function that way, that right way. So you guys probably are right about that, but I guess that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's it for you.
I mean, my rule of thumb with detail is be consistent in how much detail you give. Like, if you say that X pony's body armor is made of this substance, then you need to make sure that later on, when someone isn't wearing body armor made of that the bullet goes through.
Yeah, it's just keeping mental note. Keep up with what you're doing and explaining.
Well, Super Trampoline is not here, so it's just us. So we're gonna skip him, and it's time to ask a writer. So the way that this is going to work is, if you're in the audience, you can go to the Clawstein room chat, that text chat that's above the voice chat rooms, and you can say, you can ask us a question or give us something you want to hear us talk about, and I will react with Shining Armor screaming. So you guys go ahead and ask us whatever you want, and we'll go ahead and talk about that.
Where are they asking us again?
What?
Where are they asking us questions? Under fanfics right here?
Clawstein room chat.
Oh, wow, I'm really wrong.
Yeah, it's right above the voice chat we're in. And in the meantime, we can just chatter about other random stuff. I like to make sure that I look up things when I'm writing, just because I like having been, being a moderator on the Friendship is Optimal stuff.
Did I just get muted? Did I just get taken out?
You just got warned, apparently. Okay, apparently you can't swear. I don't know what you said in there, but apparently you're not allowed to swear in the chat. Anyways, no, I was going to talk about Friendship is Optimal for a second, because we had the panel yesterday, and one of the things I pointed out is people who write for it sometimes end up being people who don't understand computers or don't understand artificial intelligence theory, and it can be really grating to like half the people reading. If you're writing a hard sci-fi story and the people reading it don't know what and the people reading it can tell that you don't know what you're talking about, because you got to remember, a lot of the people, especially if you're writing like fantasy, a lot of the people who are reading it are going to know how sword fighting works to some level, or how horseback riding is going to work for some level. If you're writing Friendship is Optimal, a lot of people who read Friendship is Optimal have a background in computers, so we're going to notice if you don't know how these things work. So just a little bit of research can go a long way. I'd say to always do that when you're writing about real world things, and it goes back into my think inside the box thing that I said earlier. Fiaura, are you trying to talk?
Recommendations for writer's block is what Andromeda has asked us.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what writer's block in terms of you don't have ideas is like, but writer's block in terms of you're not motivated to work on certain ideas. Like you sit down and like a lack of motivation is something I can speak to. And it really, for me, I just have so many different projects like that I'm working on that I try to switch to something that captures my attention more at the moment. And I think if you have a lot of irons in the fire, it's a little bit easier in some sense, because you can say, oh, okay, I can go back to this and look at it, with fresh eyes. But, I don't know what it's like to feel like what most people describe as writer's block. Does anyone have, like Rob, how would you relate to that?
So I'm a little unorthodox. I solve writer's block by writing something else, and that can turn into a really bad spiral really quickly. So you have to know how to limit yourself and say, okay, stop. I have to focus. But it does not hurt to have other, like for instance, all the time I've got usually 5 different stories open on my computer because I'll sit down and start working on one, hit a block, and I did something that makes me go, you know what? I had an idea for this other one. So I'll hop over to the other story and work on that a little bit, and then I'll stop and go to the other story a little bit, maybe even back and forth. Because the hardest thing with writer's block is you have to figure out what works for you. And you have to, that's where it's good with all of us giving different ideas, because one of us might have an idea that'll work for you, or you have to even experiment with yourself and figure it out and push towards it.
I will say about writer's block that the phrase, yesterday's panel, the phrase the outline is your friend came up a lot. I often find that going and looking at the outline is a good idea for that. Just working from an outline can really help, because then you just sort of boil down a little further. Super Trampoline, how do you deal with writer's block?
I write trick collabs. I find when you have another person and they they're two separate brains operating together, it makes you don't know what the other person's going to bring into the picture. I mean, Rob and I have written a collab. That was
What was that collab?
So
do I know that collab?
It's robbing a trampoline store. It's about
that one.
You would expect. But hey, the two most downloaded authors on the site did a collab. Yeah, I'd say bounce off of other people, because their brains are going to work in totally different ways than yours, and so you can ask, hey, I have a problem. Like, I've literally called Jorg, or George, I guess it's actually pronounced, before, like in the middle of the day, saying, hey, can I just bounce ideas off you? And he'll be like, oh, hi, Super Trampoline, that weird commie dude who lives in California. Sure, bounce ideas off of me, like a trampoline. So I'd say if you're having writer's block, consult someone else. Phone a friend. Friendship is magic, after all.
I have 4 methods. 2 of which are legal depending on where you live, and the other 2 of which are what I would call spiteful frustration.
Illegal ones, like drugs? Those are great.
Oh, I get high. Like, that's the first thing. I live in a state
Hey,
that's
if we're gonna push drugs, you gotta remember the other side.
Of course, we've got our resident alcoholic.
The first method I have is I live in a state where marijuana is legal.
You guys try to keep it G.
Okay.
Try to keep it G-rated. I don't want us to get in trouble.
That's
okay.
Fair.
I was about to say.
Was this G?
No, great. We keep pushing drugs over the screen. That's great. We're all legal adults.
I'm of consenting age, and I live in a state where it's legal. And I also even have a prescription because I have fibromyalgia. So that's the first thing I do. The second thing I do is I host a drunk stream. So I literally have my fans come in and yell things at me while I'm intoxicated. The third thing is I do what's called spiteful frustration. Basically, every morning I wake up, I open what I am working on first thing while I'm half asleep and go, do I want to work on this today? Yes or no? If the answer is no, I set it to the side of the other screen in such a position where every time I look at the other screen, I can see it's there. And eventually, I'll get awake and frustrated enough that I'll at least type out a paragraph.
So it's just like they're mocking you?
Yes, it's there mocking me, telling me that I need to do this. The fourth method is I just put everything into the ideal writing environment for me, which is blaring heavy metal music and 3 in the morning, because apparently I write better. Literally, props. My editor has narrowed this down to, Fee, your best writing time is between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. because between those 2 times you write like 60 times the amount of words you write at any given point, and that's according to the Google Doc history. He's just like, just wait till midnight. So everybody has like this time of day when your brain is fully firing. Mine is apparently around midnight. So just wait for your brain to be fully firing and then say, okay, time to do the thing.
I will say, not so much with writing, but with music, a lot of my creative endeavors come at 3 in the morning when I'm very strung out on my legally prescribed ADHD meds.
I will also to add to that, if you're trying to write about a concept and you immerse yourself in that concept, ideas are going to come. So that's what I try to do. I'm known for doing YouTube binges. The trick is to not binge too hard on YouTube, but I've got playlists on YouTube that are just like a bunch of information, like historical, like stuff about the medieval period, or different ideas on mythology and stuff, and I just watch those videos for a while, and then I get something. I just keep adding stuff to this like 100+ video playlist.
Like another example is like if you're looking for stuff because you have writer's block because you lack inspiration. Well, I'm writing about being a prisoner on board of a ship right now. So I literally on the other screen have historical documentaries specifically with people who lived the events of World War II, talking about what it was like to serve on a Navy ship. So literally my inspiration is sitting right there, and eventually I'll look over and go, that's neat. How do I include that? And then I start processing how to get from point A to point B.
YMCA had a great song about what it's like to be in the Navy. Apparently, according to them, it was really gay.
Yeah, apparently.
That's what I hear.
And just as a little interjection here, my lying back in my chair is related to the medical thing. I'm not being lazy or falling asleep, just so you know.
Oh,
or trying
I have a medical condition too. That's why I'm in the bathroom, just taking it easy.
I'd actually
if you want, we can all lay back in our chairs.
I'd actually like to speak a little bit. Speaking of lazy, if you're like me and a lot of your writing issues relate to the fact that you are a cloud cuckoo lander and you procrastinate on everything, this actually applies not just to writing but life in general. Sometimes you can use your procrastinations, bounce them off each other. For example, I need to be doing some audition because I'm an actor, but I'm lazy. So I'm procrastinating on auditions by doing something else I procrastinate on, which is practicing piano. So if you don't want to do one thing, see if you can use it as an excuse to do something else that you haven't been doing, and basically hack your brain to get yourself to do the things you don't want to do.
Yeah. By the way, since you're here now, Super Trampoline, introduce yourself.
Oh, hi, I'm Super Trampoline. I write really crappy stories and occasionally... Oh, sorry, G-rated. I write really poopy stories and occasionally good ones. I haven't been writing a lot lately because I've been doing more music and acting and moving and being in car crashes on the freeway because it was raining and the dipshit spun out in front of me. And my insurance is useless. Anyway, but I'm okay. Let me know when you want me to talk about what I wanted to talk about, which is my writing style of writing islands, and I will do that. But
do that right now.
Okay,
you don't have a slide
I'm
for that.
Super
Do that right
Trampoline.
now.
I've written probably more random comedies than almost anyone on the site. At one point I had more stories than Admiral Biscuit, but he's very consistent. He churns out like 2 or 3 stories a month. I do not anymore. But so when I write, a lot of people complain about how starting your story is the hardest. I start in the middle, not like actually like in medias res where the story starts in the middle. I start the writing process in the middle. And what I write, I call it like the islands method. Like I have an idea for a story. I write down just like a few sentences or paragraphs. And then somewhere else, something else I want to include that story. Maybe it's a line of dialogue or a description. I tend to do a lot of dialogue. So I put that down. And so I start building these islands of text. And then I start connecting them with causeways. Like, okay, so I want to get from this idea, like, okay, so Trixie wants to hang out with Starlight. Okay, and here they're hanging out. What I need to fill in that section, like, I'm an Army Corps of Engineers and I'm building like, a bridge between these two islands. What do I need? Okay, there's a quote here, there's a quote here. Oh, and then, since this is writing, not real islands, I can move stuff around and be, okay, actually, I want this part of the conversation to be here. So I'm building these islands of text and the story's starting to come together. And then I fill in the gaps in islands. It's kind of like how I understand DNA, RNA transcripting works. They have islands of RNA that get connected and stuff. But I haven't taken bio in a while, so I may be off. But yeah, build islands of text. And you'll find yourself like, okay, if you're stuck on one section, work on another section, and then yes, that method means you tend to leave the hardest or stuff you're least certain of stuff for last, but that stuff becomes a lot easier when you have other things around it that are kind of like scaffolding. So you're like, okay, I know this part's going to be hard to write, but I've got this around it. I can use that to fill it in. And so you fill in these sections, and then soon enough you have a story. Now, I would not recommend that if you're writing like a 300,000 word epic. In that case, you should have an outline and stuff, unless you're really, bold and want to try seat of the pants writing for really long stuff. I mean, Imploding Colon, aka Short Skirts and Explosions, does that for the Australia series. Results can be mixed. You have to be just a really you have to be a really crazy writer to do that. But for shorter stuff, I really recommend trying the Islands method. For stuff that's under maybe 20,000 words, just do different sections and see how they come together. That is my Super Trampoline's advice.
Well, there you go. Well, there we go. All right. So, were there any more questions?
I want you to see my shirt.
Were there any more questions as that was going on?
Boston thing.
It's Gritty, the Philadelphia Flyers mascot.
The question was, is it okay when writing to have the first person, or have the person speak in first person, but have the story in third person?
That can be the most difficult thing you can do to get it right, because if you get it wrong, it's going to unimmerse your reader and disjoint the story. My opinion on that is avoid it. Choose a perspective and stick to it. Different perspectives have different advantages. Third person, I can show elements of the story outside the narrator. Like, I can go off and show the evil boss's lair, and that's fine. But first person, more intimate with emotions and feelings and internal thoughts that are occurring. So it's the difference in writing, say, the Stargate novel and writing Hunger Games. The reason why the Hunger Games novel works is because a lot of the novel is just Katniss's internal monologue. Whereas the reason why Stargate works is because they stay in third person. They go show what evil, crazy thing Ra is doing, and then they show what Dr. Daniels is doing to figure it out. Or Sherlock Holmes is a good example of flipping between the two, but you're not the writer of Sherlock Holmes, and if you are the writer of the next Sherlock Holmes, hi, yes, I would like to learn from you. But you have to be really careful, because if you've ever read any of the actual Sherlock Holmes novels, they're very hit and miss. Some of them are gloriously wonderful, and you will be immersed in them for days, and other ones you're like, I'm going to throw this in the trash now and just move on with life. So I would say stick to the perspective that you start with, unless you're literally teaching master courses on writing, and then go for it.
To give an example of someone actually doing that, the only time I can think of that I've actually done that is Displaced into Nothing, the second chapter, when the main character is dead. It talks about, because the main character dies in that story at the beginning, spoiler, but Twilight is doing a bunch of experiment stuff, and the main character isn't around, so it's just the main character in third person the entire time, because the main character is just in a jar now. And it's not until...
Wait, the main character is Rainbow Dash? Sorry, bad joke.
No, that's not Rainbow Dash that's in the jar. That's Sandbar. Have you not seen that picture I did where Sandbar is glue?
Send it to me. I was making a very old reference.
Oh, okay. It's on my blog. Oh, now I remember the Rainbow Dash jar. You're terrible. Anyways, no, I had, okay, so the way that I did that was I just basically... The main character just was not around, and that's where the problem with first person and third person getting mixed is. If the main character is talking in first person, and then suddenly you're talking about them in third person, it can be really confusing. I think George R.R. Martin does something like that, and it's still kind of confusing. But, yeah, I would suggest against it, but if you think you can make it work, go ahead. I'm not going to tell you not to. I mean... Especially if you're writing fan fiction. I always say, fan fiction doesn't have to be good. You can get away with just writing something dumb if you're not writing for money, so...
Yeah, and I'd like to add on to that real quick. Since we're doing this, like most of us are not making a living from this, it can't hurt to try experiments. The worst thing that happens is it sucks and you learn from it and you move on. So certainly if you want to try something, try it. Just be open to the fact it might not be a smash hit.
Yep, right. That's actually a really good one. That we don't have enough people in the community that actually try to do things different, because everyone falls into the same niches, the same whatever. You know who you are depending if your filters, and there's a lot of the same stuff. Now, granted, a lot of it's written in different ways, but there's still a lot of the same stuff being done over and over. So it's experiment, like really try things differently. That was actually, yeah, that's a very good point, Trampoline.
You know what? I think I'm going to start a group where I collect experimental fiction on this site, like Broken Bindings, for example.
I have your first story. I have your first story for it. You tell me when you do it.
All right, I will.
I'm going to speak from the other side of the fence, because I do actually make a living off of. Hey! I went to court and I fought Hasbro and won. So, but I do actually make a living writing Fallout Equestria novels. But I still, at least once a year, sit down and write an experimental story that has absolutely nothing to do with my novels and publish it just because I want to. You will find that your fans will be more than supportive. So yeah, go ahead, experiment. Go absolutely ham and off the rails.
Yeah.
I wrote a story about Luna waking up and having her figure match Celestia and the nightmares of puberty.
Oh no!
I remember that one. Luna had a big butt.
Yeah, that was the whole premise.
That was literally the story.
Luna just wakes up and has to deal with it. Just if you find something that you want to write that's experimental or silly, do it. I owe 2020 a experimental story. I should probably sit down and do that sometime soon.
You should do a collab.
I'll also say, like, the story that got me, like, really drove me into, like, writing as a thing that I could actually do because it was so popular was Displaced into Nothing. And it's this insane subversion of isekai stuff. So it's like, yeah, I don't know what else to say. Like, that's a good idea. If you want to do experimental stuff, go do it.
What's that word you just said? Isekai? What is that?
Oh, okay. So isekai is those stories that are like a dime a dozen nowadays, that there's the person gets killed and they show up in Equestria or some other fantasy world.
Oh, okay.
That's what Displaced into Nothing is. It's basically all the Displaced stories, and then I just took a bunch of elements from all them and crammed them into a story, and then started like breaking them all.
Okay.
I still need to write a Displaced story. I haven't yet.
We can cross over.
Let's just collab. Let's just collab and do a Displaced story.
I would love to do another collab, Rob.
To give an experiment.
We still need to do that collab that we said we were going to do at Ponyfest 3. That we said we'd do a big collab.
Oh yeah, we should do that.
To give an example of something experimental, the hardest thing I've ever tried to write is music. So for the first time, a song that I am completely the one who wrote it will be produced on my audio channel in about 2 or 3 months. I'm scared because this is the first time I've ever written a song, and then my editors actually come over, looked at it, and said, "Yeah, this is good." And I'm just like, "Okay."
Can I sing vocal harmonies for you?
Wait a minute. Have I been saying that wrong?
What?
Because I say Izekia.
It sounds like a
wrong.
Biblical character.
I don't know. It's some Japanese word.
Isekai is the Japanese word. You have been saying it wrong, which is kind of funny.
I keep calling it Izekia. Like when Wander D's his sunset Izekia, I call it Sunset Izekia. I wonder why D always gives me a really nasty look whenever I say
that. And today we all learned that Rob can't pronounce Japanese.
I mean, I'll be fair. Like I don't really watch anime, so it's like when I hear like the Japanese words, I don't know what they are. It's just I've heard people say that word when I'm watching YouTube videos of people talking about writing. You know, I hear people say the word isekai, and I'm like, oh, what the hell is that? And that's what it is. It
But I
means
can
other
say-
world. That's it. That's right. Invisible Gus says it means another world. That's what that genre is. And Displaced is an
Yeah.
example of a subgenre of isekai.
But I could say La Choy, like the cans of the La Choy. when you're
That's
making-
not Japanese, Rob.
Well,
Rob
I'm
can say an
sorry.
alcoholic beverage. I am so
Rob,
surprised.
shut up. You don't have the right to exist. Not all people
Wow,
have the right
rude.
to exist.
Should we take
Inferior.
another question?
Yeah, do we have any more questions from the chat? We're here for another half hour.
Please.
Oh, this goes till 4:30 my time. Cool.
Yeah, at some point we need to go to writing workshops.
The capital of Iceland is Greenland. Duh.
Well, if what? Well, if there aren't people for the writing workshops, well, I guess, like in chat, who is interested in the writing workshops?
Yeah, there's a good question to ask. Who's
I don't remember what the
interested?
writing
Raise
workshop
your
is.
hand. Raise a hoof.
What?
Oh,
What's
Who
the
is
word?
interested in the
Taco Bell.
writing workshop? Raise your hoof.
You
Raise
need
your
to be more
hoof.
descriptive on what the writing workshop is, I think, because some people are a little hesitant.
Crimson
I
Mist.
agree.
Remember, some of us have been on panels where our objective was to literally just rip on stories for an hour. So we need
Okay,
to be a
that's
little
three
more
people.
specific.
Yeah,
on
so it
what
looks
we're
like-
doing.
Chocolate Blight.
Looks like 3 people are interested.
Yeah.
What were we
Chocolate
doing?
Blight,
Workshop?
Crimson Mist,
Missed that
Regilius.
part.
Okay.
One time
Maybe more
I
once
was
we
running
get going.
AV for a Barcast panel while on 2 tabs of acid. That was fun.
Let's see
That's
if
the-
Midnight Premiere ever responded. to
G-rated, guys. G-rated. Let's not
Okay,
talk about
G-rated,
casual
Sorry,
illegal-
I mean
illegal
Lyra
drug
in the
use.
sky with diamonds.
G-rated. At MLP MSPF in 2019, I was tasked with portraying the mascot of the. Oh, actually, I have her. They gave me a plushie of her. I was tasked with playing this mascot for them for a
Oh, that's
fan
cute.
script that everyone was reading. So I had them get prop comedy stuff for me, and they were confused when I asked them for sunflower seeds, a nondescript can that would resemble a beer, and a pineapple.
I'd be confused.
So I was munching on sunflower seeds, drinking from the. It was Coke. It was actually just a can of Coke, but they'd taken the label off and put it into a sleeve. And then Scope was playing Fluttershy's rabbit and looks over and goes, "Don't you have any fruit?" And then just reach out and throw a pineapple on the table. And I go, "What? You don't carry a pocket pineapple?"
That's lovely.
I'm a terrible person.
You're not a terrible person. You're a great person. Just remember to drink plenty of water so you don't faint again.
So someone has a question. Let's
Wait, you were
let's take
there
a look
when
at
I
that.
fainted?
I was in the convention, not there locally.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Memory lane over for a second. Someone has a question. Someone who finds it easier to write dramatic or existential scenes. Slice of life chapters are very difficult. Any recommendations on how to write filler chapters? Well, I think if you're thinking of it as a filler chapter, that might be part of the problem, because you don't want to write filler.
Yeah, don't be like us, kids. Don't write filler chapters.
No, I mean, it's
Filler never even met her.
Keep going, Trick.
Super Trampoline.
Just ignore them. They're
Okay.
dumb boys. Just
Please
ignore them.
continue. Please continue.
So, I would say, if you view the chapter as filler, so will the audience, and they won't want to read it. They will want to skip over it. So you need to I guess think about it differently, and think about how you can use what you're trying, like how you can use that scene to convey something interesting or important. You have to make it interesting to you to make it interesting to someone else. Maybe that's not the best way to say it.
Every chapter should be a part of a roller coaster.
Yeah.
There are parts of the roller coaster that are calm, that are at the high point, that the characters are enjoying themselves. And then there are parts of the roller coaster that are the sudden dip into the existential crisis or into the dramatic, where everything goes off the rails, and no one knows if they're going to if the roller coaster is actually going to come back up or not. Because all of us, when we're on a roller coaster, have this deep-seated fear that the train's going to come off the tracks.
I don't. Roller coasters are actually very.
My roller coaster just goes
real quick. Just very, very quick. Someone said, "Have you ever had that moment where you did not save your work?" I have. I was writing a chapter of a story I probably shouldn't name here at a BronyCon, and I was writing it directly on the site, and the internet service crashed because you have to put in the password once every day because it's stupid. So I lost everything basically. And it ended up being a good thing. I went back and I spent like 2 weeks rewriting the chapter, and it ended up being like 5 or 6 times as long. I had to break it into multiple pieces. But
wait, so you weren't writing on one of my typewriters like a real person should at BronyCon?
Yeah, I was on my laptop.
I'd say if you're really worried about losing work, write on Google Docs because it has like autosave features, or just if you write directly in FimFiction like a pleb like I do, just save early, save often. I believe Control S saves stuff.
I mean, I'm going to say how to fix that problem, actually. There is a plugin for Chrome and Firefox and all that watches your forms when you are typing them and saves them to a file as you go, and then it backs them up so that when you lose it, you still have it. You can just recover your forms, and you should get one of those if you're going to do that. But really, you should use Google Drive. You should really always be using Google Drive. But I wanted to answer...
Little thing that I do, because this is part of my writing. The reason why it takes me so long to write something is because I handwrite everything first.
Oh, damn.
With a pen and paper, because that's how I grew up. I don't recommend doing that. That's painful, and
someone in the chat said that they do that.
I probably have the worst carpal tunnel that my doctor's ever seen.
And there's also a very popular question that I don't know the answer to because I don't use editors. Where's the best place to find an editor?
There is actually
I will tell you that
FimFiction called Ask an Editor.
There's several editor groups on FimFiction.
Yeah, there's several editor groups on FimFiction. Just go to groups and search the word editor
or proofreader.
Does that actually work?
Yeah.
Yes.
They are.
I mean, is that how you find your editors?
Yes. I either find them by that method or someone in the group recommends them to me.
Oh, also the FimFiction Discord has a writing help channel.
Yes, and people will read it. The way that I've done it in the past is so this is a way to cheat. I have a Patreon, right? And I have people that pay to see my chapters early. I use Google Docs. So all I have to do is open it so that anyone can comment on the doc, and I give them that. And I say, by the way, if you find anything in here, you should just give me feedback. I find that works. It also works like if you're an established author and you have people reading, just, ask the people in the comments, ask the people in the responses, or in your author's notes. Hey, can someone proofread this? Hey, can someone proofread for me? Hey, does anyone want to be a dedicated editor on that story? That's how I met Chessie and became one of the dedicated editors for Starlight Over to Trot until I got COVID.
My lead proofreader is my biggest fan. My lead editor was recommended to me by a member of the Barcast because I went on the Barcast server and went, hey, does anybody know some editors? And then Milk and Flutter Priest both gave me an editor to go to. I didn't like the guy that Flutter Priest recommended me to, but Milk recommended me to Props, and now Props has been my editor for 3 years.
Oh, damn.
So all you have to do is go around asking.
Yeah, and if you interact with people a lot, don't just write your own stuff, read other people's stuff, comment on it, go on forums, go on Discord, you'll make friends. And as I like to say, friendship is magic, and networking is just applied friendship. So, you meet people, if they like your stuff, they'll want to look at it.
I'd like to jump into the next question by Jewel. Can I do that? Am I doing it?
Go for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. By the way, that is my husband and also White Kitten.
Oh, hi. Okay, so how do you deal with negative feedback on your stories? So there's two kinds, and this is dumbing it down. There's two kinds of negative feedback that I perceive. There is people just being shit or jerk.
Constructive and non-constructive.
I recovered it. There's people just being blatantly rude and mean for no reason other than just because they like to do that. And then there's the people that actually
sad, hollow affairs.
Yeah, and then there's people that actually give feedback, and the only reason it's negative is because it kind of bothers you, but it's sound advice. So the first one, obviously, you just either ignore it or keep responses short to them. The best thing is to not feed them, the term or whatever. But sometimes, you just feel vindictive and want to message them anyway. I do. But
you shouldn't.
You shouldn't, but I don't care. So I just do it anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I've already lived the dream. I don't care anymore. It's all at this point. It's all downhill for me. I don't care.
Didn't you write past sins?
Yeah, sure. I did a lot of
one thing I would say about negative feedback, if you're writing like a serial story that is taking you a very long time to write, and I've had a few of these, people will give feedback because they want to influence how the story goes.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful how you respond to that. You don't want readers to believe that you are changing things in the story based on their feedback, even if you are. You don't want readers to think that they can sort of coax you into modifying things.
Yeah, that's actually really...
I gotta get something real quick.
I've had to catch myself doing that before. I didn't realize I was doing it. And then I go, wait a minute, why am I doing this? I had an idea before. And so... it's kind of tricky, because you don't always realize it until after the fact. There's a part in the Whittle where I did that, and I realized, why did I do this? Oh, because people were talking about it. So you gotta kind of... The best thing to do is when you get a negative feedback on a story, just stop. Take a step back, give it a day or two, and then reread it, and then assess, okay, is this actually being, like, criticism as in useful, or is this them just being jerks? Because you're going to get both. So, and the ones that are constructive that are negative, there's always take something away from them. I try to always take something away. I go, you know what? I don't totally agree with this person, but there's something there that I can agree with, and you gotta kind of pull it away and take tidbits of it.
So, I'm gonna give a direct example of this because this happened last week. And since he did this publicly on Twitter and Facebook and then got ridiculed into the ground for it, I'm going to go ahead and say his name. Rainbow Dashie came on to my story, left this literal internet page long of the comment section. And all of you know how big the comment section can be, and left an entire comment section worth of stuff. And most of it was absolutely falsified information. And he was like, I'm reviewing your entire story based on the first chapter. And so he had stuff out of order. He had stuff in there that wasn't in the first chapter, wasn't even in the story in a couple cases. Literally, it was just him going off ranting for I don't know how long. And I removed it. I'm like, dude, you didn't even read the first chapter from this. And you even admit you haven't read the story. So how you can't really call this a review. I'm taking it down. And then he got all upset for several hours until people just started dogpiling on him about it. So you're going to get people like that. You're going to get people who are there just to be mean to you. You're going to get downvotes on your story just because of the subject matter. That happens.
You can get haters too.
The moment I put Displaced into nothing on the site, within seconds there was a downvote on it.
Another example is my comment section. I have people. I have haters. My comment section on my blogs has a downvote on every comment on the day the blog is posted.
It often happens if you're like writing controversial stuff or just stuff that people are weenies about. Like if you write about, like, say, trans issues, you're going to get dumb butts who just downvote everything. And you know what? That's sad. I feel bad for them that they have such a meaningless life that they want to downvote someone's every comment and every story. Get a life, dude.
It's true though. You have to sorry, I'm really spaced out. Did I mention the drugs?
You mentioned the drugs. You're fine.
Yeah.
I'm actually sober for once.
Go ahead. But yeah, I can testify that is very true. People will downvote for content. People downvote because you've annoyed them. I've had people like threaten to boycott me over works that there was nothing really that bad inside of them. The like T-rated stuff that wasn't questionable, as opposed to stuff
you
that's
don't like my
questionable.
stuff and you're going to boycott it. Whatever shall I do?
Oh no, the boycott's coming.
You're going to
so
boycott
long story
my
short,
work on a free website.
So long story short, try and get the constructive criticism out of the non-constructive criticism. Ignore the non-constructive critics and try to figure out, if someone's actually reading your story and trying to be like, look, you misspelled this word, or look, this doesn't make sense to me, I don't understand, then that's constructive feedback and you need to pay attention to that. But if someone is just being rude, if you don't think they're being constructive, just ignore them. That's the only thing.
And the worst part is some people have that silver tongue that they can make and twist it around and make you think that they're being constructive. And that is the real part where it takes a lot of just time and experience dealing with. I early on, I had people that would say things to me, comments about stuff, and I'd take it to heart. And then later I realized, wait, they're just being whatever.
Well, this is part of the power of writing by structure, of structured writing, is that you can just go focus on the writing. If you've already got your story outlined, by the time you post the first chapter, you can just go back and focus on your outline and ignore that person, complaining. Focus on the positive comments as much as you can, and the negative comments as little as possible, unless you can find positive in the negative comments. Yep. If someone's just being negative, though, just ignore them. If you're not sure, just ignore them anyway. Don't fight with the people in your comments. This is the last thing you ever want to do, is fight with people on the comments.
Yes, that often leads to escalating drama. I think I don't want to call anyone out specifically, but there are authors who almost bring stuff on themselves because they engage.
There are people on the website, directly. There are people on FimFiction who literally go around looking for people who will respond poorly to their trolling, and then they brigade those people. That is a thing on the website.
It is dumb.
It's not even against the rules. There's entire groups on the website for that. It's one of the things I've complained. I got into an argument with Nighty over it one time, even over it, because it's. I think it's ridiculous that that's allowed, but that is a thing on there. So just
trust me.
don't fight.
Sometimes you can't always get into it with 90, but don't worry. I'll abuse my godly powers and talk to Wanderer D about it.
There are some
Wanderer
limits on
D
that.
They all know.
One of my suggestions to people is because you have to. If you guys don't know how this works now, YouTube has made it where I am if my video is marked safe for kids, I am responsible for the comments. So I have to curate my comments.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
yep.
what I would suggest you do is, I hate to say this, treat FimFiction like a YouTube comment section. Curate it. It's okay to just tell someone, I don't want your feedback. Thank you for your interest. And then remove their comments and block them.
I have found, however, this is just part of FimFiction's culture, but deleting comments really annoys people.
Yeah, I don't do that.
I
would
had
not give that
someone.
advice, no.
So just be careful. Like, even if you're being trolled, it's probably a bad idea. It's probably a bad idea to delete lots of comments. If you leave it up, people will see what happened, and they'll understand that you're just being attacked for no reason, basically.
The problem is deleting comments is a double-edged sword, because there's stuff that just shouldn't be there, and you're removing it. But then when some people, I've known people that they judge a story before they read it by the comment section. They'll go through, and if they see a ton of deleted, they won't give the story a shot because they think the author is just being, whatever. And I've tried to tell people, no, that's not always the case. It's just sometimes people are just mean and trolling or whatever they're doing to others, and they're just messing with them. And
another thing to remember about film fiction is that you can block people and you can report people's comments. If someone is actually breaking the rule with the comments, you can like swearing at you and being really mean for you, not just mean, openly insulting you. You can report that to the staff. They will go after that.
Yes.
But the main thing is just do not fight people like that in the comments. It will only lead to more comments like that.
Yeah.
The thing with trolls is you can't take a middle path with them. You either have to completely ignore them, and then they'll go away because they're trolling because they want to get a rise out of you, or you have to beat them at their own game. Now, if you're like me and have zero shame and don't give a fudge, then you can just mess with them, just fudge with them, and they'll be like, wait a minute, this person's supposed to be getting annoyed, but they're just throwing my fecal matter back at me. What the heck?
I've done that before.
I don't recommend trying to be Super Trampoline. Don't try to be.
It's difficult to be Super Trampoline. Super Trampoline has been banned from FimFiction multiple times.
Oh, and I'm on a Facebook ban right now for calling Kevin McCarthy a C word. He really is.
Okay then. All right, so we have I don't see any more questions, and the next panel in here is in 45 minutes. So we should probably move on to the next thing, which is the writing workshop. So
no one's told me what that is.
Yeah, nobody told me there'd be days like these. Strange days indeed.
One of these crazy old.
I'm not sure I understand what it is either. If you can tell me, then I will.
I will tell you in a second.
I may actually have to bow out of it because I'm starting to fade quite a bit.
Yeah, it's fine. Thanks.
I hope you feel better, Trick.
Go lie down.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, this is constant. Oh yeah. I guess I do have a cold, but yeah.
All right. So basically, the idea here is, that is our panel. Thanks for asking questions. Thanks for being here. So this is how writing workshops.
Thanks for texting me, Rob.
What?
Thanks for texting me, Rob. I thought the panel was later in the day. My apologies.
Oh yeah. Okay. I was wondering if it was something like that.
Yeah, I took care of it. I got you, Raccoon. Because you're over there on the screen.
Yeah.
Actually, before we pop over to that, do we have anything else that we as writers want to say?
Do a collab with me.
I would always advise you to take any characters in your story that are supposed to be together and do what's called the lock them in a vault. Put the two characters in a room with nothing else to interact with but each other and see if they hold up.
Yeah,
that would be my golden piece of advice for when you're creating characters.
On part of that, sometimes if they don't get along, it's a good story.
Yes. Yeah, it could be just as so long as
it's really a test to see how deep the characters are.
As long as the two of them can keep up the interaction between each other, you've made good characters. It doesn't matter if they hate each other or if they love each other. It can be Magneto and Professor Xavier. If you can lock them in a room together, so long as you can build a story off of just them, you have strong characters.
That would be hours of them quietly playing chess.
To quote Freddie Mercury, do whatever you want with me, just don't make me boring.
Watch a few episodes of the Gold Girls. That gives you a great idea of different type of characters and people, whether they like or hate each other, because every episode they go through it all.
Or Letterkenny. You should watch Letterkenny. Such a good show.
Well, okay then. Anyways, all right. So this is how writing workshops are going to work. I said to everyone here, you got to bring basically audience members or whoever's in the writing workshop. Basically, you bring a piece of your writing that should be. It should take no more than 4 minutes for you to read it, and you read it out loud to the rest of the group in the writing room. Right?
Hi, kitty.
And
Hi, kitty.
I need to go look at the video because apparently he's playing with a cat. Oh,
Rob,
okay,
I'm
someone's
going
playing
to
with a
visit you in
cat.
Michigan so I can pet your cat.
That's fine.
Awesome.
How is
I
Michigan
took a
right
road
now?
trip to Chicago this spring.
It's freaking cold.
In the spring, like in May, I'll come.
Yeah, it's
and I'll
cold
pet
here
your
in
cat.
Florida too. It didn't get above 70 today.
Yeah, no, it's we've been last week. We've been under 20 degrees.
Okay,
And I work out
we're getting
most of the time.
distracted.
I'm
We're getting
outside.
distracted. So
And then there's
the plot
me
of-
wearing swim trunks and flip flops.
Oh,
we are getting distracted, and we need to pay attention to this. So the way that writing workshops work is you bring your thing in there and you read it, right? And then what happens is after you read, and you should take less than 4 minutes to read, you go around in a circle, and everyone in the chat who is going to talk gives you a bit of feedback. And this should only
It's going
take,
to what?
What?
What'd you just say?
Me?
Yeah, you just said everyone that's going to something.
Talk.
Then we'll repeat. Talk. Okay.
Yeah, so everyone that has feedback can give a brief bit of feedback, like a little blurb of feedback. And those people should only be the only people talking at the time, the people that are giving the feedback when they are giving their feedback, unless they're going to ask a question to the author or the room or something. But really, it's just we're getting a bunch of people in a room and you're going to talk about your stories. Okay? So I'm going to split up the writers that we've got here into these 2 breakout rooms. Okay? And then everybody's going to go to those 2 breakout rooms, and you guys can do well, we only have 3 people looking for workshopping, so we might just use one of the breakout rooms. I don't know. That's the idea.
Just use one.
Yeah, let's just use one of them. All right, so we're going to go into one of the breakout rooms, and then everyone can talk, and then we're going to do it like that. We're going to just go into a breakout room and hang out there and talk about our stories. All right? So
we're going to talk about their stories because they're the ones sharing.
Right. We're going to talk about their stories. We don't talk about our stories because you know our stories. We are on FimFiction. You should go look us all up.
Yeah, no self-flagellation. Got it.
Hot.
Okay. You should look up everyone from both panels, from all 3 of the writer panels that we had at this convention, by the way. It's
Especially Rocket Raccoon for actually organizing this.
Yeah.
I'm kind of behind that one.
Yes, you should read mine for actually organizing this and look for my series when it comes out. But
And don't read mine if you value
also,
yourself.
I put the videos of all 3 panels on YouTube, so you should be able to find them there. They're like 3 hours each. It's great.
Great.
Anyway, so let's head over to that room, and this officially ends the panel. Thanks to everyone for asking questions. Thanks to all our writers for showing up and doing this.
Yes.
Thank you.
Late, but yes.
Thanks for having me.
Thank us. Thank you.
I'm going to be honest. I look forward to when we can have these panels in person again because they work they work so much better in person.
Oh yeah, they're really
the
fun.
delay
I
kills
think
ya.
this is really
The delay
good
kills
for
ya.
online. I think this book went pretty well.
All right.
So
I
which one
finally
real?
got onto a panel with Rob. It happened.
I'm going to be real. I got to use the restroom, eat food, and vacuum, so I'm going to peace out. But y'all are all blessed people, and you're amazing, and I can't wait to see you in person. Peace.
All right.
Bye, ST.
So bye, Trampoline. Everybody else, we are moving to Breakout 1. So
Breakout
pay attention
2,
to Breakout 1.
Breakout 2.
Rob is telling people to go to Breakout 2. Because he's a shit.
Be right back.
I shouldn't say that. I'm still streaming this, by the way. Hey, you two.
Free!
Get into Breakout 1.
Oh, okay.
Hell.
There we
Fine.
go.
Still, I was having fun there too.
Yeah,
Me and
we're just kind of
Oh,
screaming.
Luna, it was a freaking party, and you just crashed it. Thanks.
So we're still on Scream, by the way. If
Are we?
anyone,
Oh yeah, there it goes. Wait, I'm only on the screen. You tricked me.
we're
You
still on the
added-
stream. Like we're still streaming to YouTube right now.
We're on YouTube? Since when?
The entire panel has been streaming to YouTube.
Oh jeez, they're gonna come after me again. So what are we doing? We're doing a workshop. So we're basically people, anyone in here, they're gonna share a part of their story or something, and we're gonna.
Damn it, he's got me doing it now. Okay, yeah, basically just anyone who's not comfortable being on YouTube, like, just tell me and I'll stop streaming, but I just felt like, hey, I might as well keep streaming because that gives us this nice recording of it. But, yeah, that was a fun panel, and now it's over.
Yeah,
And,
that was great.
I don't know. We were supposed to have another panel in Clawstein in a bit, but this person hasn't.
Who's supposed to have another panel? Us?
In this room,
Oh,
there's another person.
they can deal with it. They can go to room 2. There's 2 rooms after all.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be an issue. They don't seem to be responding. Oh, they did respond to me, but they don't seem to understand.
All right, so we're asking other people to basically send us. You said how much of their story? Like
They're going to read it. They can talk in here. Yeah. Does anyone want to start talking before they turn the stream off? Any of these other people that are here?
I'm here.
Yeah, Fraser Duray, you can talk, and Rigelius, you can talk. Say hi to
Everyone can
YouTube.
talk. Woo!
Yeah, say hi to YouTube.
Yay! Hi, YouTube.
Are you going to say hi to YouTube? Does anyone want to say hi to YouTube? I'll shut off.
Hello, YouTube. Hello, world.
Okay, there we go.
There you go. That's the spirit. Hello, world.
Hello, world.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
All right, so I figured I'd stream the first story or so if you guys are comfortable with that, if anyone is comfortable reading it while it's on stream. So, does anyone want to start us off knowing that they are on stream?
Yeah, we're here for you. You do the do.
Do your
Hit it.
thing. You know, be like enjoy
Then Sean,
your thing.
a little bit too nervous for this.
A little bit too
There we go.
nervous. Anyone else not nervous that we can start off with?
I mean, if we want someone to start out with to rag on, I can just throw one of the 2 songs that we haven't produced yet onto the table and be like, all right, start criticizing me for my musical preference.
Okay, do it. Do it.
Okay. Here we go. I have... Here's one that no one... Hey, guess what? You came to this panel, so you get to see something even my patrons haven't seen yet. Congratulations. There. That is...
Okay, now read it out loud.
I'm not a singer. But all right.
Wait a minute. Hang on. There was a bird from Louisiana, though the wasteland he did roam, carrying out with justice. It is too high, I sing this ode. Great, right?
Along with the great spirit, he struck down every foe. Safety in the wasteland, to him we do owe. Red and black, red and black. The birds from Louisiana wore a hat of red and black. He shot the numerous raiders, too numerous to list, carrying out his justice with revolver in his fist. Through the toxic skies he swooped. He scoped each shot to fall. Every lawless raider feared his mighty call. Red and black, red and black. The bird from Louisiana wore a hat of red and black. Beneath that hat was just a lone griffin, you see, one with a hollow where his eye should be. But why try to preserve justice in an unjust world full of ugly sin? If asked, Alguaso would speak to you, because I'm a regulator and the law is coming in. Red and black, red and black. The bird of Louisiana wore a hat of red and black. Red and black, red and black. The bird of Louisiana wore a hat of red and black. I feel like I just did beatbox poetry slam. I did terrible.
Yeah, it is what it is.
There, now you don't have to be shy. I've embarrassed myself.
Okay.
There was a lot of repetition in that, I noticed.
So how?
I guess that was on purpose, though. I liked that. It stood out.
Yeah, it's a song.
Well, the point is to make a campfire song after someone's died about the person.
Ah. Okay, so that's
instead
something that's a spoiler for Fallout Equestria. Someone dies and they sing a campfire song.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody here's already read it yet, so no one would know who I'm talking about yet.
Does anyone in the audience want to give any feedback for that, knowing that we're still streaming?
You can yell at me and tell me it's awful and that I should wad it up and throw it in the trash and set it on fire.
Yeah, that's what.
Fiaura, your OC is green, and I have a problem with that.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, someone explain how that happened.
Your OC is like mint, and I don't understand why you've got a mint.
No,
OC.
it's not even mint. It's lime.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh,
that's
geez.
a mint OC. I
So
mean,
the way
her
that
hair is
was,
peppermint, and her skin is green, her fur is green, and her hair is peppermint. And I just always look at that, and I'm like, that's a mint pony. What are you talking about, Fiaura? That is a mint pony. That is not a Fallout pony.
So hold on. First off, that's in the chat room right now. That's what I submitted to the game master before I created her. That is actually what she looked like originally.
Okay, so original.
And what I got back was not what was there, so I went, all right, well, I guess I'll get an artist to do this instead, because this is what I got back.
Is that a Rainbow Dash free color in the background?
Yes and no.
As a side note, trying to shoot a double-action revolver with your tongue is like nigh impossible.
Oh, I'm not in disagreement. Like
Yeah,
the amount of technical work I had to come because K-Cat did a great job like setting the universe and how everything worked, but she didn't dive into the extreme technical details of how stuff worked.
Oh yeah.
And then I set up a character who's a tinkerer, and I'm like, now I have to figure out how a horse would actually fire a double action revolver.
Oh yeah, no,
without magic.
Yeah.
Right.
So someone did send us their story.
And they want us to read it for them? I guess I'll read it if that's what they want.
If you want to read it, sure. I was gonna, but you do it.
Okay.
I am technically the person moderating, so. Crimson Mist. Crimson Mist, do you want me to read this while I'm still on stream, or do you want me to turn off the stream now?
I do have a suggestion here, Crimson Mist, before we start reading, to make it easier for everyone. Put a blank space between your paragraphs.
Oh my gosh, do they not have blank spaces between there? You don't have blank spaces.
I mean, they have paragraph breaks, but there's no.
But no, the main thing is it okay if I read this while I'm on stream?
Oh.
Hush, everyone else. Okay, Crimson Mist, is it okay if I read this on stream?
Yes, it's alright if you can read it on stream.
Okay.
Look at that! See?
So,
Oh, magic.
I'm going to pull out a stopwatch. Yeah, someone else talked, finally. Alright, so I am going to pull out a stopwatch on myself to make sure I don't go forever and ever. And I'm going to start reading.
Okay, Raccoon, I expect real in-depth characterization with this reading. Like real people, you know. Come on.
Blackwater! What happened? Why did
Do
Project
the
Mist
motion.
go dark? An older but
Fuck.
deeper voice yells in his face. He looks down at his claws, covered in blood. New blood, to the point that it was dripping from his talons. His mind races as he tries to recall what happened. My queen. I don't know what's wrong. The test subject was doing well. He bounded with the agent like no other. He stuttered out. That's not good enough. That is not good enough, Blackwater. Queen Bloodstone was counting on us to make her the best soldier, one that can take down any tribe that we see fit. Did you at least put the control chip in? No, my queen, he replied, but before he could end the word, the queen hit him with her tail, sending him hurtling across the room with much focus to leave a check in the marble wall, breaking his wings and letting the stone slab that was tucked under the wing would fall to the floor. Imbecile, she yells, before noticing the stone slab dropping to the floor. The queen raised an eyebrow, seeing the stone slab marked with the symbol of recording. At least you didn't get that wrong. She looks up at him, not caring that she may have just broke some bones. You will be fine, Blackwater. After all, you're a doctor. I'm not that kind of doctor, my queen, I say, coughing up blood all over the floor next to the stone slab. I'm a doctor of biology, he remarks. Same thing. Well, what about the other two subjects of the project? She walks over and picks up the stone slab, not caring at all what he said. There have been moved to Site 4 and 8, my queen, he replied, trying not to cough the blood all over the queen even though he was in a lot of pain. Did he know about his siblings at least? Yes, my queen, he knows. He looks at the wooden door, hoping that he could get out to see the doctor. Everything we have on subject number sign 003S in on that stone slab. Can I go see a really doctor? He asked fearfully that she would hit him again or even kill him. You are fine to go, Blackwater, but if this happens again, you will be killed, she snaps back at him before walking to the desk in the back of the room and putting the slab down. Yes, my queen, I will not fail you again. He gets up and starts to limp to the wooden door. She looks back at them. How did I end up with morons? She remarks, just loud enough for him to hear. He would open the door and walk down the stone hallway where the others would look at him and back as they did their daily jobs around the site. The blood was making a tail from the queen's room to where he was. His own blood was dripping from his wings, turning his gray rings to a reddish gray. Blackwater, what happened? Blah, blah, blah. The new shipments just came in. Okay, I'm going to stop there.
Okay.
So that was about 4 minutes of that story, or a little under 4 minutes. I am going to say outright, there's a lot of typos in here, and you need to get a proofreader. That said, let me look at your let me look over your prose here, because your prose here could be oh good, he's taking notes. Your prose here is kind of weak. I'm just noticing that For one thing, you skip around a little bit in your pacing and all that, but the main thing is it feels like this conversation. Just something about your prose is distracting me from it, but I can't put my finger on it. What does everyone else think?
For your notes up there, first off, better pacing with a C, not ST. Second, if you want to, there's a couple things in here that there's no T in the word. So when you look it up later, you know what it is. It's PACING. For a start, a lot of things that people don't know about is when you want to cut someone off mid-speech because an action happens, like slamming someone with a tail, and them getting thrown into a wall, the command is Alt-0151. It creates a long dash, which indicates to a reader, cut off. When you put a series of 3 or 4 dots, that means they trailed off. They didn't finish the thought. You may also want to put a series of 3 dots between stuttering. So when he says there, you may want to put T ... T ... TH ... and then put the word there. That creates the stuttering effect for the reader when they're reading. That's just a couple of mechanical things. For me, if this is a pony-based story, I would say your names for these characters are a little edgy.
I think they're changelings.
I'm
just going to go with that. I immediately think this is Queen Chrysalis.
Yeah, if they're changelings, I would go for something less direct. Like, okay, it's not a pony story at all. Still don't know how. Blackwater doesn't really fit as a name for me unless it's a last name.
Or a group, organization.
Or a group or organization, and Bloodstone has to refer, and like if her name is Queen Bloodstone, she should probably have a magical object called the Bloodstone. That would explain her name, or Queen Bloodstone feels like a title, not a name of a person or creature or character. It feels like you're just giving. This feels like their title is Queen Bloodstone as opposed to their name is Queen Bloodstone. You have to be very careful about names, because if they're too head on the nose, it feels like you're trying too hard. So like, I have characters who are named silly things in some cases compared to what their job is. Like, I have a doctor whose name is Windbreak. He's a Pegasus. He's a Pegasus, but there is an infinite number of... you would expect him to be a janitor or a sewage maintenance person. He's a doctor. There's an infinite number of jokes you can make off of his name, but he's still a doctor. And it still kind of fits into the aesthetic of a pony name. So you
Let's
just have to be really careful about
long-winded
names.
in our responses, by the way. Just give him straight feedback.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm just going to stick with what you need right now as a good proofreader. Rob, did you have any brief feedback? Did anyone in the chat have good brief feedback for this?
No, I mean, it's okay. The thing is, stories are stories, and I'm one of those that I have learned to deal with and understand and recognize when people have an idea and they want to do it. So when you've got either character names or certain settings or, just parts of the story that are not detrimental to the writing, but they're just of the character, you ignore them. So the names and stuff, you know what? Could they be better? Well, yeah. But they're fine. I mean, it works. The point of a name is a placeholder. There's no, it has to be this specific kind of name. No, names are placeholders. So you can have them be named Blackwater or whatever the heck you want. there's no specific rule saying you have to have characters or places named specific ways. The key is your writing style and how it reads back for people that are reading it. And yeah, there's a lot of hiccups here where it could be smoothed out, be a lot better. And a lot of it is simple stuff that a decent either pre-reader or editor could pick out, point out, fleck you out and say, hey, this needs to be better. Come on. And that's not a bad thing. That is never a bad thing. People, especially whether they're new or not, they feel like when an editor tells them that this is bad, they're like, oh, well, I'm crap. No. Experienced writers, I've only been writing fanfic for 10 plus years. No. You are going to find your niche in there, and eventually you'll clean it up, you'll do whatever, and you need to rely on people help and give you input, whether it's right or wrong. And I'd like to argue that right and wrong don't mean anything, but they do. That's all advanced stuff.
Anybody else in the chat want to
I
say
have
something?
not seen the Rockstar has turned to Luna.
Oh,
Does anybody else in the chat? What?
So with everything, like I asked the question before, was the transformation from first person speaking to third person storytelling, how was that in your eyes?
I mean, everybody talks in first person. So.
No, he's referring to when he went from the previous paragraph. He replied to "I say."
Oh, that? Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do
You
that.
just never try to transition between first and third person in like the same chapter, like within the same scene or whatever. It just gets really confusing. If there's no break, it just gets really confusing. So you just don't want to do that.
What a transition like that should be for is a change of perspective. So if I'm writing in first person, I have a paragraph where everything's in third person, and then I change narrator in the next paragraph. That's what that's useful for. Just doing it to do it or just doing it because you want to experiment with it, is going to jar the reader every time.
All right. Does anyone else have any feedback for this person and their want to give feedback to this person?
Rob has the expression on his face that someone pissed in Cheerios and handed them to him.
Where are my Cheerios?
Well then.
But no, I mean, no. Since no one else is like stepping forward, Crimson. No, this. See, the problem is, I hate when people try to tell someone that it's a bad start, it's an awful start, it is a whatever it is. Every story has either a rough or shaky start, but you can develop it and change it and do it better. And they're always changed by having your pre-readers and editor. And you know what? Everyone starts on editors, but sometimes even just a pre-reader can make a whole world of difference. Don't like, oh, no, I don't have an editor. What do I do? No. If you have someone at least sit down and read it with you, and they can tell you, give you some advice, and improve it a little bit, while it might not be perfect in the loose term that perfect is, it's something. And you can edit and change it and make it work. Because, look, we're all novices until we have, like, Fiaura there has that printed book, in their hand, like, oh wow, I made it, I did it. Until we're all at that point, we're all learners, and still learning and picking up on things. So don't freak out that you're either making mistakes or whatever. You need to just absorb that information and work on it, work towards it, and keep pushing on.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even call myself anything beyond a journeyman. I'm still learning a bunch of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And at the same time, like to emphasize how much work it takes to get that book. When I got it the first time, I collapsed and actually held it in my hand. I collapsed on the ground and cried for a solid 30 minutes. No, this is a decent start. They're right. Get a proofreader. And to show you how much you're probably going to go back and rewrite this, I've rewritten the first 8 chapters of Dead Tree 6 times.
Yeah.
Before I published it to a book. So you're probably going to publish this at one point, go back, redo it, republish it. That's fine. If this is what you want your grand masterpiece to be, go ahead and do that. I'm informed the names are from a specific crossover thing. Then yeah, go with the names. Stick with them. That was me giving advice out of context. Now that I have the context, I would tell you to tell me to shut up and throw me in the trash.
I want to note something. Like I do think this is a good start, like in terms of it being a like a jumping into the action and showing things happening. This is a good start. I'm assuming that the next chapter is going to cut away to whoever this person is that they're talking about. I'm assuming is the main character, but like that's just what I would assume from experience. But I think this is a good start so far. I just think your main thing is you should go get like a proofreader or someone who can look at this and give you good advice on it, because it's not that what you're trying to do needs work, it's that the way that you've written it needs work. And a lot of it is little things like not having a new paragraph when you change your perspective. When you change who's speaking, you need a new paragraph. When someone is talking and you put in like a number or something, you need to write out the number. Stuff like that. Just the way that it flows. It's got flow problems. It's got spelling problems. It's got a lot of weird problems that a proofreader will immediately catch and pick out and show you how to do them right. And that's really all this needs right now. I would say, before being a really decent first draft of what is clearly I'm interested, certainly. It's not uninteresting, and it's not, bad. It's just, it needs work.
Yeah, and what Moonbud over here says, a lot of it just feels like there's a little bit of repetition, but it can be solved. I mean, it's like, see, like, look in here, like Blackwater, what happened? Why did, and like the constant reuse of the name. Like, the tricky part is knowing how many characters in the scene, and then when you have to constantly specify who is saying what. Like, if it's a scene with 2 characters, you don't have to constantly say, their name said, their name said, their name said, their name said. No. After a point, you hit that. Okay, the reader knows there's these 2 people talking. So I can knock back on the he said, she said, and start adding some actions in here. Like, someone says something and then an action, and then she says something and then an action. Because the readers know there's 2 people, only 2 ponies, people, whatever, there. And then you can, and the same thing is when you hit 3 and 4. I mean, okay. Unless you're having a lot of ponies or people, whatever, in a scene, you can get away with a lot more broad terms. But when you're dealing with big parties, then you have to do what you're doing here and constantly specify such and such name, such and such name.
I'm gonna cut us off here because I am gonna say like I know there's a couple more people who said they wanted to talk, and we do have a limited time in here. We can run a little over into the next panel just because we're in a breakout room, but we should, if there's another person who wants a story, like, speak up. I am going to take us off of the YouTube stream now because obviously that, there's people that are very shy about this. Thank you, Crimson Mist, for letting us do that, though. And I will, I'm going to shut that down now. So thanks to everyone who was here, and goodbye, YouTube. We'll see you around.
Goodbye, Google overlords.
Bye.
So, like right now, for themselves, read through it out loud. Because when you read something and you just read it in your head, oftentimes you read faster because you don't have to speak it. When a person speaks, they only speak at you can't go faster. I've tried; it doesn't work. But when you read slowly, your brain can't jump over misspelled words or missaid things because you have to actually say it out loud.
This is what is called the.
That was something I forgot about. Yes, thank you.
Informal English training. This was called the writer's touch, where you literally take everything after it's been edited, proofreaded, and whole 9 yards, and you read the whole story out loud, and then you make edits based on how it sounds out loud. Do that every time. I'm surprised we didn't actually go over that.
The other thing is,